The fallacy of hypostatization is said to occur when someone thinks of an abstract concept as if it were a concrete thing. Another name for this is the fallacy of reification. Reification involves attributing substance or real existence to mental constructs or concepts. When human-like qualities are attributed as well, then that adds anthropomorphization. It's remarkable how many arguments designated as fallacies aren't fallacies at all, and the fallacy in fact lies with those asserting that the argument is fallacious. Postmodernism has many defects, but one thing it got right was its notion of deconstruction. Deconstruction, by its nature, has many possible definitions, but perhaps the most basic is that many arguments presented as objective and factual are actually subjective and partisan, and are little more than rhetoric, propagandizing on behalf of contentious positions as if those positions were uncontentious. So, for example, the fallacy of hypostatization is basically propaganda on behalf of scientific materialism and empiricism. Its primary target is religion. A scientist would say that a religious person is guilty of committing this fallacy, because they have taken the concept of God and considered it a real thing. They have reified a mere concept, a thing in the mind. This alleged fallacy is also applied by science to mind itself. Science says there is no such thing as mind in its own right, independent of matter. So, the whole of mental reality, which defines our existence, is dismissed by science as unreality, illusion, epiphenomenon. Mental reality is, according to science, something which has been fallaciously assigned reality, even though it's all in the mind, which doesn't exist. Hypostatization concerns that which stands under, hence substance. It is the reality which is said to underlie a thing, but science believes that no reality, other than matter, underlies anything mental, hence any mental thing claimed not to have a material underpinning can be dismissed. God is regarded as immaterial, so science immediately dismisses God. And the soul. The fallacy of hypostatization can be attacked via other logical fallacies. So, for example, this alleged fallacy can be attacked on the basis of false cause, namely, you presumed that a real or perceived relationship between things means that one is the cause of the other. Science presumes that matter is the cause of mind, and so it disregards mental reality as an independent reality. If reality is mental rather than material, then science has literally inverted the true basis of reality and is constantly committing the fallacy of false cause, since, if mind is the true causal agent, any cause not attributed to mind and instead attributed to matter, is automatically false. Many scientists routinely deploy the fallacy of personal incredulity, because they personally found something difficult to understand, or were unaware of how it worked, they made out it was false. Scientists cannot accept the existence of anything other than matter, so always display personal incredulity towards any explanations not grounded in matter. Above all, they cannot accept the reality of concepts rather than percepts. That's why science is about observation and not about reason and logic, as mathematics, the quintessential conceptual subject, is. Scientists routinely commit the bandwagon fallacy: you appeal to popularity or the fact that many people do something as an attempted form of validation. All scientists appeal to the fact that all scientists disbelieve in the existence of mind to argue that mind does not exist. They are merely stating their own paradigmatic prejudice. Scientists routinely commit the logical fallacy of appeal to authority: you said that because an authority thinks something, it must therefore be true. Science thinks it's the authority on what reality is, so whatever it asserts is true about reality, and what is false must be right, without question. Scientists never question their paradigm of materialism and empiricism. They cling to it as a matter of faith, in very much the religious sense, blind obedience to a highly dubious claim. Scientists routinely commit the logical fallacy of begging the question: they present a circular argument in which the conclusion is included in the premise. Science denies the reality of concepts, and therefore the alleged fallacy of hypostatization is already contained with science's set of paradigmatic claims. Scientists routinely commit the logical fallacy of the appeal to nature. They argue that because something is natural, it is therefore valid, justified, inevitable, and right. Scientists deny that concepts are part of nature, hence instantly deny that they can ever be ontological. All concepts are rejected as unreal, man-made abstractions, above all, God and mathematics. A decisive new fallacy should be introduced, the paradigmatic fallacy. This is the fallacy that whatever your paradigm of choice says is true, and everything else is to be rejected as nonsense. All religions, spiritual systems, and science play this game of never accepting anything outside their paradigm, and instantly, as a matter of ideology and dogmatism, dismissing it. Most logical fallacies are committed by those claiming to be exposing others' logical fallacies. What they are actually doing is committing the logical paradigmatic fallacy by asserting that others are wrong because their argument does not conform to the paradigm claimed to be true by the person saying that something is fallacious. If your paradigm is not that of reason and logic, why would you expect your paradigmatic claims not to violate reason and logic, and thus not to be rationally and logically fallacious? 1 + 1 = 2. Science is not based on reason and logic. That's why so many of its claims are fallacious. They do not agree with reason and logic, hence are false. If you're going to trade in logical fallacies, you should be someone who supports logic. If you reject logic as ontological, as nearly all citers of logical fallacies actually do, you can be sure you are the one committing logical fallacies. It's a logical fallacy to appeal to logic while dismissing reason and logic as the true basis of existence. There are many people, including scientists, who reject reason and logic as the basis of their ontology and epistemology, yet go around accusing others of committing logical fallacies when they themselves are amongst the worst offenders, continuously committing paradigmatic fallacies. The whole of scientific materialism can be dismissed as a paradigmatic fallacy. Reality is mental, not material, so all causation applied to matter should in fact be applied to mind. The most toxic bias exhibited by scientists is their absolute incapacity to conceive of the ontology of concepts. Not any old concepts, but those of mathematics. If mathematical concepts are real, i.e., concrete, ontological, then it means that we can understand reality through reason and logic, through thinking about reality. This of course means that reality is mental. This idea, the sole means for answering the question of existence, is repulsive to scientists. Scientists, as sensing types rather than thinking types, empiricists rather than rationalists, ideologically believe that only percepts are real, which would of course mean that reality is material. The question of whether reality is foundationally conceptual, mathematical, mental, or perceptual, scientific, material, is the decisive one when it comes to understanding reality. The answer to this question is obvious, but not to scientists. Science is literally worthless without mathematics. All the observations, experiments, measurements and uses of the senses you can possibly have won't help you one jot without mathematics. Mathematics has no need of science. Science is totally dependent on mathematics. If that doesn't tell you how reality is constituted, nothing will. Scientists, without even blushing, have to play the absurd game of claiming that perceptual science is real while conceptual mathematics is unreal. It's a mere man-made abstraction, they say. The idea that you can use something claimed to be unreal to elucidate reality is comical. Only people who detest reason and logic, and conceptualism, and mind, could ever arrive at such a bizarre and manifestly false position. The average mind can believe in the reality of sensory objects. The average mind cannot accept the reality of conceptual objects. Reality is in fact made of conceptual objects. They are sinusoidal waves, and they are none other than basis thoughts. They are the fundamental constituents of mind, and they are responsible for the generation of all material, sensory things, i.e., the whole physical world is actually mental.